All right, so with our handsome Mr. Bodie, I wanted to warm up with a little bit of some movement. So we're going to do a little bit with some find its, with some orientation back to me. Bodie, here. Yes. So he was just romping with his friends again. So since it's just the three gentlemen, I have a little bit of extra time because normally I'd have 4 students. So because I have a little bit more leeway, I can do a little bit of more wrestles in between some of the sessions for training. So the boys are probably going to go home a little extra special tired today, if I can talk. Ready? Bodie, here. Yes. Oh my gosh, did it just fall out of your mouth? That happens sometimes. It's very embarrassing. Oh my goodness. So I wanted to work a bit with Mr. B, working on his place, working with that stay. I know you had mentioned that he's like, yes, ma'am, that he had been working it a little bit at home and that he was having a hard time kind of holding the position and he'd kind of get up a lot. So remember, the fun thing about generalization, it does take quite a bit of time to practice the generalization skills in those different venues. So you did a very good job by trying to work movement behavior first. So you noticed he was struggling with being stationary. So you went into some nice find its or some play. And then you tried to, oh my goodness, you got to eat those a little bit better. Mr. B says chewing and panting is just not a compatible situation. You good? But you guys did a great job helping him by going into some movement skills first if he was struggling being stationary, and then worked the place behavior. And we discussed too this morning is if, let's say, sitting in a stay is easier than starting in a down, start whichever position is best for him to be successful. So what I wanted to work on today was a little bit more with our duration and generalizing the stay position on his place behavior with this cot, and then also include some distractions with leave-its. So I know I've done this in the past a little bit where I practice dropping, again, typical no-no items. So I know we just did a little bit with some leave-its last week with him where he was working and moving around them and what happens if your babe grabs the leave-it and how to help them through it. So this right here, we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to apply, once he's done chewing, I'm going to tell him to stay. And right now he's kind of implies that going to his target bed is a stay, but sometimes I don't want him to think like just going and targeting the bed always equals that he has to be stuck. So I don't want him to feel like he's trapped when sometimes he's just maybe relaxing on his dog bed versus being told to work a stay position. So right now we're just helping add in some distractions with me moving around. And then I'm going to go ahead and feed Mr. Handsome over here for doing such a great job being stationary. So I did, again, unwrap that toy that he's going to be getting later today, but we're going to use it a little bit today during our practice too. So, but we haven't played with it yet. So it'll be a very nice new thing to work on. Nice. So right here, we're just rocking this gorgeous stay. Just organizing, making it look nice while we're making some noises. Yes, beautiful. So if he's been doing a really great job with certain environments, remember that you may just have to slowly increase the difficulty, but at stages. So if, let's say right now he's comfortable being here and his association for this room with me, with the dynamic that's going on, is that we can hang out while I do these things. If I all of a sudden throw in something different, like I know with some of the other gentlemen, like maybe I'll grab one of the chairs and, for example, me adding, so like notice how me moving out of range this way, oh, he just wanted to adjust to watch me, that's fine. So if he wants to adjust, that is perfectly fine, but I don't want him to feel nervous. Like if, let's say, he was really overwhelmed, like you mentioned, the pool fell over and then he actually got excited because he wanted to go back into a swimming pool. So there will be moments where the environment will throw in some difficulties or distractions, and maybe your babe does happen to break. Ready? We're going to bring him back to his little bed. Ready, Bodie? Ready? Bed? Yes. So, but I don't want, oh my goodness, chewing is, I don't want a dog to ever feel that making a mistake from, again, he doesn't know what's a mistake per se. So I don't want my dog to be worried about what happens when he does the wrong thing. Because I know I was mentioning a little earlier with Mr. Z, that dogs are amoral. So these weird constructs that we're creating for them, like to be a good dog versus a bad dog, are again more of a human thing. So I would recommend that if he has no idea what the heck we're doing, break it down into steps, but feed and reinforce for the beginning stages. As he gets more comfortable, that will then turn into a full behavior that maybe he knows how to offer when asked. But remember, no dogs get pre-programmed to understand the weird human world that they're stuck living in. So we want to make sure that we're helping him be successful. So again, I'm just going to go, oh, see, that's hard for him. So we haven't played with the chair with Mr. B. So this is a newer thing. I know we did a little bit earlier with some of the other boys. Ready? Bed? So, but you'll see that when a dog makes a mistake, I don't hurt them or scare them. So I'm not saying this is what you guys are doing, but there's plenty of other trainers that would hurt him. So there's moments where we have this concept of like this right and wrong and teaching them a lesson. The lesson that they learn from that setup is that we are sometimes, again, unpredictable, scary, and we cause harm. So we don't want to be the bringer of anxiety, fear, because that can also start to build into other behavioral issues or displacement behaviors that can come down the road. So right here, I'm just, again, trying to help him realize that just because there's a chair now thrown into the mix, that doesn't mean you can't rock a down position on your bed and feel comfortable doing so. So again, I might more so lean or move my chair. And as I'm including some harder situations, I'm going to lower either the criteria at one end or another. So if, let's say, this was really challenging and he wasn't scared of the chair, you could move it closer. Or, for example, you would start to tweak. So notice how my reinforcement, I'm actually tending to go and reinforce him sooner than I was when I was moving around the room. So I will tailor the session based off of what the dog is telling me as to how they're understanding or not. So I always tweak the lesson because being the teacher, I want to have a student that is learning well and not feeling more stressed while the learning process is happening. Yes. So because if we can be predictable and non-threatening, we can start to build a relationship built on trust and again, feelings of safety and then predictability. Yes. But this whole concept of holding a dog accountable for their mistakes is, from my perspective, a load of baloney. Oh my gosh, chew them. Because even though dogs, I find, are brilliant, their frontal lobes do not connect the way ours do. So this concept of your dog knowing when they're wrong, that they've done something, now they have a guilty look about them, those are actually appeasement behaviors, and they're really worried that you're going to potentially cause harm to them. So they're trying to look as benign as possible. So whenever I see those poor videos of the dogs on the internet, like being like, you know what you did, and the dog's like melting into a puddle or doing their little scared little smile where they're overwhelmed and stressed, it just kind of makes me sad. So there's a lot of online content where, sadly, for views, people do really mean things, even to little humans. And they're, again, looking for those views, and it doesn't really matter what the welfare is behind it. So when you're looking at videos, even online, not even for training content, but behaviorally, like, does the dog really enjoy what's going on? And sadly, most of the time when you start to learn body language and how dogs communicate, you start to see the world through the dog's lens, and you start to notice just how sometimes we are not the most humane to our pets. So this doesn't mean this is what you guys are doing. I think you guys are wonderful caregivers and wonderful dog owners. He's just stuck in his jowl. So right here, I went a little too long. I had a feeling, but don't worry. We're going to start again. Ready? So bed. He's like, guys, my brain's melting. There we go. Nice. So I'm going to tell him to stay. I'm going to try to make this a little bit quicker. So remember, duration and how long you do something will also make it easier or harder for them. So remember, with those 3 Ds, there's your distractions, there's your duration, there's your distances, and technically there could be a 4th D if you wanted to throw in difficulty. But I find when you think, he says, shucks, lady. So don't worry. So we'll try it again. Ready? Maybe Mr. B is just getting a little tired, so I'm going to try one more little rep. If I lose him, I'm going to make it a little easier. Ready? Oh, he's such a good boy. Ready? Stay. So this time I'm gonna again lower my criteria. My criteria is going to be lower. It's going to be easier, so less of a full sitting for me. Yes. And I'm going to up the sort of rate of reinforcement as long as Mr. B remembers how to chew. Oh my gosh. Yes. So, but remember that since the industry is unregulated, anybody can say they're a dog trainer, and some folks even steal the behaviorist title. And sadly, there's a lot of online content and even stuff on National Geographic that people will watch. And it's kind of one of those things where it's really outdated information and information that is no longer applicable because, again, dominance theory was debunked by the exact same scientist that created it or deemed that concept when he was studying wolves in captivity. But the wolves were from different wolf packs put together in a human-made enclosure, and he studied wolf behavior. It's a really hard way to study appropriate wolf dynamic. So, but anyway, long story short, if someone's telling you you have to be like the pack leader or the top dog or the alpha, remember that dogs are not pack animals. They are social animals. They do have, again, lots of friends. If they're a sociable kind of guy or gal, they can make a lot of really nice situations with other dogs or animals or people. But they do not travel in a male-female breeding pair with all their puppies and all of their relatives. So that is how a wolf pack travels. So it's, again, like me using, for example, primate behavior on you. If, let's say, for example, I were studying baboons and then I decided to take baboon behavior and apply it to other people around me, they're probably going to deem me slightly insane. So when we're using wolf behavior and some of it that is not accurate on dogs, we are creating a lot of conflict and confusion for the dog. At no point does your dog look to you as another dog. So that's another thing. So when we're using outdated information that is, again, going to be sort of detrimental to the dog mentally and physically, it's not going to create trust. It's going to typically create more confusion and potentially more increase of anxiety and therefore other behavioral troubles like aggression. Oh, what a brilliant boy. Poor Mr. B says, make it end, lady. This is how I torment dogs, by feeding them snacks for practicing really big boy, big girl skills. Nice. So ready? All done. What a good job. So with Mr. B, we are going to work a little bit with those leave-its in a moment, but maybe what we'll do is we'll give him a little breather because he says, boy, was that exhausting. What a smart man. We'll do a couple little find-its. So when you're practicing and you're trying to build in duration or distractions, or you're upping the criteria of one zone versus another, try to be careful about not doing all of them at once. So we might be like, oh my gosh, he's doing such a great job on the dog bed, and I really want to do this like out in the yard while the neighbors are walking by, while there's a dog barking in the distance, while there's a squirrel right in front of him. And in that setup, he may not do so well. So gauge the dynamics. I know with the sort of, we mentioned prior in group classes, is remember how with our set of lights, we have our green, yellow, and red environments, skill sets, distractions, or triggers. So green is where he's doing stellar. Yellow, a little hairy. He needs a little extra help, but he still has a bounce back and he's still taking food. Red, nothing good is happening. So he's either overstimulated, overwhelmed, overtired. There's a lot of overs. He could also be feeling scared. So if we're dealing with reactivity, even if it's through frustration, anxiety versus, let's say, for example, your dog is acting aggressive because they're feeling so flustered, those are still all big emotions. And these are things that we want to help our dog through, not scold or punish for showing. So we have obviously dived into some of this, but for right now when practicing, you want to stick to your green and yellow zones and stay away from the red where no one is having a good time or learning anyway. Ready? Find it. Because as I mentioned earlier for Mr. Z, whatever your dog is participating in, be it the good, the bad, the in-between, they're getting really good at. So he is going to grow into a skill or grow into a behavior, not grow out of it. So this is something that we want to make sure, are we providing a right dynamic or a soft enough environment where the learning can happen, but where the dog is not getting always sort of bombarded to the point where they're not functional or learning any longer. So, but Mr. B did a really great job. We're going to give him a little breather. He says, I'm going back to my bed, and sneak him out for a little potty. Oh, so tired. Take a little nap. Poor Zeke was also unconscious while we were practicing, though he's doing a very good job, so don't worry. And then I want to dive into a little bit with leave-its because I didn't get to do it as much with this exercise. We ended up working more with the chair. But very nice job. So I'm just going to feed him a little tidbit for being such a smart man placing. But we'll give Mr. B a little break, and then we'll do some more stuff in just a sec.